Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. Today, I want you to look carefully at the title on your screen. You will notice three very important phrases. The first is Corporate Wisdom Index. The second is Capability Intelligence. And the third is Workforce Transformation. These three ideas together form the foundation of the AugusTalent Ecosystem. Now traditionally, organizations have focused heavily on training. They conduct workshops. They organize learning sessions. They invest in certifications. They build learning management systems. But despite all this effort, many organizations still struggle with execution gaps, leadership immaturity, poor alignment, low accountability, and capability fragmentation. This is because organizations are developing skills, but not necessarily developing wisdom. And there is a very important difference between skill and wisdom. Skills help people perform tasks. Wisdom helps organizations make aligned decisions, adapt to disruption, develop mature leadership, and create long-term transformation capability. That is why AugusTalent is not positioning itself as a traditional training company. Instead, we are building a capability intelligence and workforce transformation ecosystem. An ecosystem that integrates leadership intelligence, organizational maturity, capability architecture, KP3 and KP4 business transformation, ESG readiness, competency systems, behavioral intelligence, and workforce evolution. As we move through this webinar, you will slowly see how all these components connect together into one integrated architecture. So let us begin by understanding the real problem organizations are facing globally today. Now let us carefully look at the question on this slide. Why do organizations still struggle despite massive investments into learning and development? You can see on the screen several areas where organizations spend enormous amounts of money. Training investments, leadership development initiatives, HR transformation programs, learning platforms, certifications, digital transformation systems. And yet, despite all these investments, many organizations continue to face execution failure, low leadership maturity, weak succession pipelines, poor collaboration, high employee disengagement, and inconsistent business performance. So the question becomes, what exactly is missing? The answer is shown at the bottom of the slide. Most organizations measure skills, but very few organizations measure corporate wisdom. Now what does this actually mean? Skills are important, but skills alone do not guarantee transformation. An employee may possess technical skills, but still lack decision maturity, behavioral discipline, leadership intelligence, systems thinking, execution capability, or transformation readiness. Similarly, organizations may have training programs, but still lack alignment, adaptability, organizational learning maturity, or capability integration. This is where the idea of corporate wisdom becomes extremely important. Corporate wisdom is the collective intelligence of an organization to make aligned decisions, execute effectively, develop mature leadership, adapt continuously, and transform sustainably. And this realization becomes the foundation for everything you will see in the next slides. Because before we discuss solutions, we first need to understand the scale of the global capability problem. Now, let us look carefully at the problems listed on this slide. These are not isolated issues. They are deeply interconnected organizational capability problems. The first challenge is leadership capability gaps. Many organizations have managers, but not enough transformational leaders. The second challenge is execution failure. Organizations create strategies, but struggle to convert strategy into disciplined execution. Then we see low transformation readiness. Many companies want change, but their culture, leadership systems, and workforce capability are not prepared for transformation. Next comes poor capability mapping. Organizations often do not clearly understand what competencies exist, what competencies are missing, and what future capabilities are required. We also see weak succession pipelines. Many organizations are not preparing future leaders systematically. Then comes cultural misalignment. Departments operate in silos. Values are inconsistent. Behaviors are disconnected from strategy. And one of the biggest problems globally today is learning without business impact. Organizations conduct training, but cannot measure behavioral change, execution improvement, or return on learning investment. Then we see ESG confusion, revenue leakage, competency fragmentation, and disconnected workforce systems. Now, if you observe carefully, all these problems are actually symptoms of one deeper issue. Organizations are lacking capability intelligence. And this is the turning point of the webinar. Because the future does not belong to organizations that simply conduct training programs. The future belongs to organizations that can continuously measure, evolve, and transform their collective capability systems. That is exactly where the AugusTalent ecosystem begins. Now that we understand the global capability problem, let us move toward the solution. Please look carefully at the title on this slide. Corporate Wisdom Index. Or simply, CWI. This is not designed as another survey. It is not another engagement tool. And it is not another generic assessment platform. The Corporate Wisdom Index is designed as a unified enterprise intelligence framework. Now let us examine the different dimensions visible on the screen. The first dimension is leadership wisdom. This measures the maturity of leadership thinking, alignment, accountability, decision-making, and strategic capability. The second dimension is workforce wisdom. This focuses on workforce readiness, capability alignment, adaptability, collaboration, and behavioral maturity. Next is execution wisdom. Many organizations create strategy. Very few execute consistently. Execution wisdom measures the organization's ability to convert intent into disciplined action. Then we have transformation wisdom. This evaluates how prepared an organization is to adapt, evolve, and sustain change. Next comes capability wisdom. This focuses on competency systems, skill maturity, capability mapping, and future workforce architecture. Then we move into ESG wisdom. This measures sustainability ownership, governance maturity, ethical capability, and long-term responsible transformation. We also measure organizational wisdom, learning wisdom, revenue wisdom, and employability wisdom. Now, what is important here is not the individual components. The real power lies in integration. Because organizations do not fail in isolated departments. Organizations fail when intelligent systems become disconnected. The Corporate Wisdom Index is designed to create a connected intelligence architecture. And this architecture becomes the foundation of the entire AugusTalent ecosystem. At this point, an important question naturally arises. What exactly do we mean by corporate wisdom? Please observe the definition displayed on the screen. Corporate wisdom is an organization's collective capability to make aligned decisions, execute strategy effectively, develop future-ready talent, build leadership maturity, sustain behavioral excellence, adapt to disruption, and create long-term business resilience. Now let us break this down carefully. The first phrase is aligned decisions. Many organizations suffer not because people are incapable, but because decisions across departments are disconnected. Corporate wisdom creates alignment. The next phrase is execute strategy effectively. A strategy on paper has no value unless the organization possesses execution capability. Then comes develop future-ready talent. Today the workforce landscape is changing rapidly. Artificial intelligence, automation, ESG expectations, and digital transformation are reshaping industries. Organizations need future capability architecture. Next is leadership maturity. Leadership today is no longer about authority alone. It requires systems thinking, emotional intelligence, adaptability, transformation capability, and mentoring wisdom. We then move into behavioral excellence. Technical capability alone cannot sustain organizations. Behavioral maturity is equally critical. Finally, corporate wisdom includes adaptability, resilience, and transformation continuity. This is why AugusTalent is focusing not merely on learning. We are focusing on organizational capability evolution. And as we move forward, you will see how this philosophy translates into frameworks, diagnostics, maturity systems, assessments, transformation architecture, and professional evolution systems. Now, let us compare traditional training models with the AugusTalent ecosystem. Please observe the comparison table visible on the screen. On the left side, you will notice the traditional learning and training approach. On the right side, you will see how the AugusTalent ecosystem is positioned very differently. Let us go point by point. The first comparison is workshops versus capability architecture. Traditional learning systems primarily conduct workshops. A session is delivered. Participants attend. Certificates are issued. And the process ends. But AugusTalent focuses on capability architecture. This means we do not simply conduct sessions. We build interconnected systems of competency, behavior, leadership, execution, workforce readiness, and organizational maturity. The next comparison is learning hours versus transformation readiness. Most organizations measure how many hours of learning happened. But learning hours alone do not guarantee transformation. An organization may complete thousands of learning hours and still suffer from poor accountability, weak leadership, low execution capability, and cultural fragmentation. That is why AugusTalent focuses on transformation readiness. Meaning, how prepared is the organization to evolve, adapt, execute, and sustain change? The third comparison is feedback forms versus KP3 and KP4 impact. Traditionally, training effectiveness is measured through feedback forms. Participants rate content, trainer quality, engagement, and satisfaction. But satisfaction does not automatically create business impact. That is why the AugusTalent ecosystem integrates KP Level 3 and KP Level 4 systems. Meaning, behavioral transformation, live implementation projects, productivity improvement, leadership capability enhancement, and measurable business outcomes. The next comparison is trainers versus capability consultants. This is one of the most important shifts in the entire ecosystem. A traditional trainer usually delivers knowledge. But a capability consultant understands organizational gaps, competency systems, behavioral intelligence, transformation maturity, capability mapping, and business linkage. This means professionals inside the AugusTalent ecosystem evolve beyond facilitation. They evolve into transformation-oriented capability professionals. The next comparison is courses versus intelligence systems. Most learning platforms sell courses. But AugusTalent builds intelligence systems. Meaning, assessments, organizational diagnostics, capability analytics, leadership maturity systems, transformation frameworks, ESG intelligence, workforce capability architecture, and enterprise readiness models. The next comparison is generic learning versus enterprise diagnostics. Traditional learning is often generic. The same workshop is delivered everywhere. But organizations are not identical. Each organization has different leadership maturity, capability gaps, workforce culture, execution challenges, and transformation readiness levels. That is why AugusTalent integrates enterprise diagnostics. This includes capability assessments, organizational maturity systems, culture diagnostics, leadership analytics, revenue leakage heat maps, and transformation intelligence. And finally, we come to the last comparison. Content delivery versus organizational transformation. Traditional systems focus on delivering content. But content alone does not transform organizations. Transformation requires behavioral alignment, leadership maturity, capability integration, execution discipline, and organizational intelligence. That is why the AugusTalent ecosystem is not positioned as a training company, a coaching academy, or a certification institute. It is positioned as a capability intelligence and workforce transformation ecosystem. And now, naturally, the next question becomes, what are the intellectual frameworks powering this ecosystem? Let us move into the core architecture behind AugusTalent. Now we arrive at one of the most important visual representations in the entire AugusTalent ecosystem. Please observe the diagram carefully. At the center of the image, you will notice CWI, which stands for Corporate Wisdom Index. This central circle represents the intelligence core of the entire ecosystem. And surrounding the Corporate Wisdom Index, you will notice multiple interconnected capability domains. This is extremely important because organizations do not operate through isolated departments. Organizations function through interconnected intelligence systems. And whenever these systems become disconnected, organizations begin to experience execution gaps, leadership inconsistency, cultural fragmentation, revenue leakage, poor transformation readiness, and workforce misalignment. The Corporate Wisdom Index is designed to integrate all these critical organizational intelligence layers into one unified ecosystem. Now let us move around the diagram step by step. At the top of the visual, you will notice Organization Diagnostic. This represents the organization's ability to measure internal maturity, capability gaps, leadership readiness, workforce alignment, and transformation preparedness. Because transformation cannot begin without diagnostic clarity. Moving clockwise, the next area is Researched Frameworks. This includes the proprietary intellectual architecture developed inside the AugusTalent ecosystem. Frameworks such as FIT, Olympus, Matryoshka Organization, Quad Pro Leadership, Temple's 12M, and other capability intelligence systems. These frameworks are not isolated theories. They are designed to function together as interconnected transformation architectures. Next, we move into Top Management Assessment. This is a very important capability layer. Many organizations attempt transformation without first understanding leadership maturity. But organizational capability always mirrors leadership capability. This assessment layer focuses on board readiness, decision intelligence, strategic alignment, leadership maturity, governance capability, and executive transformation readiness. Then we move into management books. Now this is a very strategic component of the ecosystem, because the books inside AugusTalent are not simply publications. They are intellectual infrastructure assets. Each book contributes frameworks, models, case studies, leadership systems, and transformation methodologies into the larger capability ecosystem. Next, we move into talent assessment. This layer focuses on competency intelligence, behavioral capability, workforce readiness, future talent architecture, and capability gap analysis. Because organizations cannot transform unless talent systems evolve systematically. Then we move into complement KP2 to KP4. This is one of the most unique areas of the ecosystem. Most learning systems deliver generic content. But AugusTalent focuses on context-driven capability transformation. Meaning, the organizational context is first understood, then learning architecture is customized, and finally transformation is measured through KP2, KP3, and KP4 frameworks. This creates measurable behavioral and business impact. Next, we move into content for Peter principle for disruption. This area addresses a very serious modern organizational problem. Many professionals are promoted based on past performance, but struggle in future leadership complexity. This concept helps organizations prepare leaders for disruption, future complexity, and evolving capability expectations.
Then we arrive at TTT, Train the Trainer. This is not traditional trainer certification. Inside the AugusTalent ecosystem, TTT represents capability multiplication. It develops professionals beyond facilitation into consulting, diagnostics, transformation thinking, and capability architecture. Next, we move into talent development and training. This area focuses on competency building, behavioral transformation, leadership maturity, performance enhancement, and workforce capability evolution. Then we move into performance management. Because learning without performance integration creates no sustainable transformation. This layer integrates CRA, KPI, balanced scorecard, KP4, and organizational productivity systems. And finally, we arrive at Gen Z management. This is increasingly becoming one of the most critical workforce challenges globally. Organizations today are managing a rapidly changing workforce mindset. This layer focuses on future workforce adaptation, Gen Z workplace readiness, behavioral alignment, digital work culture, and evolving leadership expectations. Now, if you step back and observe the entire diagram together, you will notice something very important. The Corporate Wisdom Index is not positioned as a training model, a consulting framework, or a learning platform. It is positioned as an integrated capability intelligence ecosystem. An ecosystem where diagnostics, leadership, frameworks, books, assessments, training, performance systems, future workforce readiness, and transformation intelligence all operate as interconnected organizational wisdom systems. And this becomes the foundation for the next slide, where we will now explore the deeper architecture and operational layers behind the Corporate Wisdom Index ecosystem.
Now let us move deeper into the operational architecture behind the Corporate Wisdom Index ecosystem. Please observe this visual carefully. Unlike the previous slide, which introduced the broader ecosystem, this slide explains how the ecosystem is actually structured internally. At the top center, you will once again notice CWI Corporate Wisdom Index. And below it, the architecture begins dividing into three major intelligence layers. The first layer is organization. The second layer is individual assessment. And the third layer is talent development. This structure is extremely important because sustainable transformation requires alignment between organization systems, individual capability, and workforce development. Now let us begin from the left side. Under organization, we first see diagnostic tools. This includes board-level diagnostics, mystery shopping, customized prescriptions, and customized reports. These tools help organizations identify hidden capability gaps, operational risks, leadership weaknesses, customer experience issues, and execution vulnerabilities. Below that, we move into researched frameworks. And here you can see several proprietary systems including Matryoshka Organization, FIT, Temple's 12M, Olympus Model, and ESG frameworks. Each framework addresses a different layer of organizational intelligence. Together, they create business framework intelligence. Now moving toward the center, we enter the individual assessment layer. This includes CEO assessment, HR assessment, and training assessment. Because transformation must begin with leadership capability visibility. Organizations often invest heavily in systems without understanding whether leadership maturity is aligned with transformation objectives. Next, we move into management books. And once again, these books are not positioned merely as publications. They are structured as capability development engines. You can see examples such as Quad Pro Leadership, HR 2.0, Black Box, First Pencil, and ESG Leadership. Each book contributes practical transformation systems into the ecosystem. Now moving further right, we enter customized talent assessment. This includes Fit Assessment, 9-Box Assessment, and Pro Fit Olympus systems. These assessments help organizations evaluate talent maturity, future readiness, leadership capability, organizational defensibility, technology readiness, and strategic transformation alignment. Then we arrive at customized context versus content. This is one of the most important philosophical shifts inside the AugusTalent ecosystem. Traditionally, organizations purchase generic training content. But AugusTalent believes context must come before content. Meaning, organizational realities, capability maturity, business goals, leadership culture, and workforce readiness must first be understood before designing transformation interventions. That is why this framework integrates KP2, KP3, KP4, and Peter's principle disruption thinking. Now moving further right, we enter the TTT architecture. This includes KP3, KP4, change in business behavior, KRA and KPI-linked ROI, and balanced scorecard systems. This means trainers inside the ecosystem are not merely facilitators. They are developed into business-aligned capability consultants. And finally, at the far right, we arrive at Pro Career. This includes campus to corporate systems, Gen Z selection, assessment, and development. This is strategically very important because AugusTalent is not only transforming organizations, it is also building future workforce intelligence pipelines. Meaning, students, young professionals, future leaders, and emerging workforce ecosystems can be systematically developed from the earliest stages of professional evolution. Now, if you observe the complete architecture carefully, you will notice something extremely important. This is not a collection of isolated assessments or training modules. It is a connected capability intelligence operating system. An operating system integrating organizational diagnostics, leadership intelligence, books, frameworks, assessments, performance systems, behavioral transformation, future workforce readiness, and enterprise capability maturity. And this integrated architecture is what makes the Corporate Wisdom Index fundamentally different from traditional HR, learning, or consulting ecosystems. Now we move into one of the most strategic capability layers inside the AugusTalent ecosystem. Please observe the title carefully. Our intellectual architecture. And specifically, Premium Strategic Talent Assessment and Development Frameworks. This slide explains how the AugusTalent ecosystem approaches capability intelligence progressively through multiple assessment maturity levels. Now this is very important. Most organizations use isolated assessments. One assessment for personality, another for engagement, another for performance, another for leadership. But organizational capability does not evolve in fragments. Capability evolves through connected intelligence layers. That is why the AugusTalent ecosystem has been designed as a multi-level capability intelligence architecture. Let us now walk through these levels one by one. The first layer is Corporate Wisdom Index Assessment. This is the master intelligence layer of the ecosystem. The Corporate Wisdom Index assessment evaluates the overall maturity of an organization across areas such as leadership capability, organizational alignment, workforce intelligence, transformation readiness, governance maturity, execution capability, and strategic sustainability. It helps organizations understand not just where they are, but how prepared they are for the future. Now moving into the first structured capability layer. Level 1, AugusTalent Talent Fit Model Assessment. This is the foundational workforce intelligence assessment. The purpose of this assessment is to evaluate whether talent capability aligns with organizational needs. The fit model examines functional readiness, infrastructure alignment, technology enablement, and talent maturity. This helps organizations identify early capability gaps, misalignment risks, and workforce readiness challenges. Now, once foundational alignment is understood, the ecosystem moves into deeper talent intelligence. This brings us to Level 2, AugusTalent 9-Box Talent Mapping and Profit Framework. This is a significantly more strategic layer. Now please observe the word profit. This framework expands the fit model into broader organizational capability dimensions. Profit evaluates economic defensibility, hybrid infrastructure, technology architecture, and talent maturity. At this level, organizations begin evaluating future capability sustainability, not just current performance. This framework helps organizations understand whether their talent systems are capable of surviving future disruption, competitive pressure, technology evolution, and transformation complexity. Then we move into Level 3, Talent Culture Fit Assessment. Now this is extremely important, because capability without cultural alignment creates organizational friction. An employee may possess technical expertise, but still fail inside the organization because behavior, values, leadership expectations, or operating culture are misaligned. This framework evaluates behavioral compatibility, organizational value alignment, workplace adaptability, team integration capability, and cultural maturity. At this stage, organizations begin understanding not only what talent can do, but whether talent can thrive inside the organizational ecosystem. Now we move into one of the most advanced layers of the entire architecture. Level 4, AugusTalent ProFit and Olympus Interactive Diagnostics. This is a highly sophisticated enterprise intelligence framework. Please observe the multiple capability layers mentioned on the slide. This includes infinite asset governance, board and C-suite diagnostics, ProFit analysis, Olympus strategic intelligence, and deep dive governance reporting. At this level, the ecosystem evaluates leadership intelligence, board maturity, strategic governance capability, transformation readiness, decision architecture, capability defensibility, and organizational resilience. This framework eventually generates a 6-layer strategic transformation report. This is not a generic assessment. It is a strategic organizational intelligence system designed for boards, CXOs, enterprise leaders, and transformation-driven organizations. Now we move into the most elite capability layer. Level 5, AugusTalent Modul Lens Assessment. Please observe the positioning carefully. This is described as Strategic Governance Assessment for Boards and Investors. This is one of the most powerful concepts inside the entire ecosystem, because many organizational risks remain invisible. Leadership may not see them. Boards may not identify them. Investors may not recognize them until serious business consequences appear. The purpose of Modul Lens is turning invisible capability risk into visible governance insight. This framework evaluates strategic vulnerability, governance maturity, leadership defensibility, capability sustainability, organizational resilience, and enterprise transformation exposure. At this level, AugusTalent moves beyond workforce development into enterprise governance intelligence. Now, if you observe all 5 levels together, you will notice a very important progression. The ecosystem evolves from basic workforce alignment toward deep organizational intelligence and governance maturity. This is why the slide mentions premium strategic talent assessment and development frameworks. These are not ordinary assessments. They are interconnected capability intelligence systems designed to support leadership evolution, organizational maturity, future readiness, and enterprise transformation. And finally, we arrive at a very unique framework within the ecosystem. 4-box model of life. Now this framework expands the conversation beyond organizations into human consciousness and self-awareness. Please observe the statement carefully. Courage to know the self to develop higher consciousness. This is extremely important, because sustainable transformation cannot happen only at the organizational level. Transformation must also happen at the human level. The 4-box model of life focuses on self-awareness, behavioral maturity, personal balance, human consciousness, decision wisdom, and inner capability alignment. Because ultimately, organizations evolve only when human beings evolve. And this is one of the most unique dimensions of the AugusTalent ecosystem. It integrates organizational intelligence with human evolution intelligence. Now, as we move forward in the presentation, you will begin seeing how all these capability systems connect together into one integrated corporate wisdom architecture.